Good morning, good day, good evening, good life, one and all. I hope you're having a fantastic one. And we're going to jump straight into this one. We have the Roving Bear with us. Say hi.
Hi.
Nice. The Roving Bear and myself are obviously part of the Sanctuary Discord. And we like to bring you this podcast just so that we can talk to you guys about the news and everything that's going on in and around, as well as some bigger topics, like last week was anime and health and many other things. So
Free-to-play games.
Free-to-play games was the other point I was trying to remember, but I forgot that completely because my memory is a sieve.
I've got two more to add to that list now.
Do you? Oof,
I actually do as well. I'm good because I'm
to this.
Well, to the free-to-play games on Steam, there is EVE Online, which is everything that No Man's Sky should have been, and it's free. And I'm starting off on Guild Wars 2 soon, which the base core game is free.
Nice. I'm definitely going to be joining you on that second one. EVE Online? Maybe not.
You should join me on both, to be honest.
Okay.
EVE Online is more space-based, so as long as you can get your head around the fact that you're going to be in a spaceship, then...
I'm not going to have time for my right hand on Valentine's Day. Oh, what was that? No. I will definitely make time for my lover on Valentine's Day. I mean, what? No. So let's get back to the point at hand. So the free-to-play games was EVE Online and Guild Wars 2, specifically, that you're mentioning.
Yeah.
So definitely take a look at them, and I will keep you informed on our Guild Wars 2 details as we advance through there.
Well, hopefully those guys will get to see us live. We're going to be arranging a party, and we'll try and do it on stream so you guys can enjoy watching, well, Sophie set fire to another world.
Yep, and if you haven't seen our D&D, you really should. The first story arc's coming to a close, but yeah, it's been a delight as that story. But
is it because your face just literally melted like twice in the last stream alone? I counted at least 2 times where I think we as a party... The trick to being a great party in D&D is to completely throw your DM in a direction he wasn't expecting and to watch as his brain melts at the very concept of what you're throwing.
I just look forward to playing a game where I don't have to think about the consequences of your actions.
Me too.
I do have to say, though, the whole fact that you managed to throw in changing into the other 2 characters and then not only do you change into those characters, he then breaks another law somewhere else. So he's basically committing a crime in 2 different places at the same time.
He is. And what's really good is that any good-bad ratio we have doesn't take into account what we've done, because we weren't us.
Exactly. There's going to be some explaining to be done at some point in the line, and that's going to make some crazy storytelling. However, that is going to be quite fun. And also remember, we've only got like 2 weeks left of us all being together, and then it's split between you and Sophie together, Shadow and Bear together, the other Thunder. Your Thunder together, and then when when I'm hosting it, it's all four of us back together again. Or 4 of you back together again. So
is that going to be the one where the first thing happens, we all meet at the time like, what's happened with you? Oh, nothing new. Read all about it. Read all about it. Massive crime spree by Naruniel.
Yeah, I can see that now.
I can see that. It'd be hilarious.
It is worse looking at his face as you was there trying to put his accent on.
Oh my god, that was so funny. I just, like, I don't know what I preferred. His face when I did it the first time, or his reaction when I didn't naturally want to do this, but the chat insisted. I mimicked his accent.
It wasn't even close. It wasn't,
but it was just the fact that I tried, and the fact that he could tell I tried.
I think talking about accents, I started off that there was a 13-year-old boy who helped Narunjal's character out. I think I started off Irish and ended up Liverpudlian.
Yes,
It,
you did.
It kind
That
of
was quite entertaining.
evolved from Irish to Liverpudlian, and I was there going, "This is not working." And then I just stuck with the fact that it evolved. Like top of the morning to you, and then by the end of it was complete Liverpudlian. But I guess that's what is all the fun in these games. That especially because it gives you so much freedom. And we didn't even really plan on talking about D&D that much, but obviously we like to tell you what we're up to and give you that information. So yeah, that's probably the highlight of my week actually this week. That whole episode was just
that whole episode was just. I think that might have been some of the most fun I've had in a D&D session. Just the stuff that was going on, and yeah, no, you guys, if you head over to Sophie Bubbles' channel, you'll see it there. I'm probably going to end up clipping it at some point because it was just so funny.
I want to clip like so much of it and just put it all together because that's the first one. I'm like, there's so much of this. You could make an hour-long episode out of everything, and then you could just have the laughter files at the end of it. It was just absolutely amazing. I don't think it could have. That was the first one that I've absolutely fell in love with, and I'm glad I kind of recorded most of it as well. I don't think I recorded the first 10-15 minutes of it, but I've recorded most of it. So I might pop some clips out of there sometime this weekend and put like a montage together of you pretending to be Narunjal. Because
did you think that was a nice touch at the end when I did the whole thing in the tavern as I was leaving? And I was like, how can I tie them together so that if one does something bad, the other gets impacted? I know.
I was like, I don't know where this is going, and I'm not sure I like where. Oh my god, no! You just destroyed both of their characters. But you didn't destroy their characters. You just kind of gave their characters a new dimension. They're now lovers. And
they're now declared war on the king.
Yeah, they now just when you was doing that and when you agreed to burn the building, I was like, it'd be funny if I got them to burn a building down. That was my whole thought. Was it'd be funny to watch you burn a building down because you're not burning a building down for a while.
And then when we went, Thunder could do it, and I just saw your face go. I did not intend on this.
I had just planned on more fire to cleanse the world. Yes.
But I suppose we shouldn't go into too much because we obviously want you guys to watch it.
You should go watch it. Just for the accents. Just for the accents. Because if you do go and watch it, drop us a tweet or drop me or the Roving Bear a tweet. I think is it Roving Bear 87? No. 90. Aged you. Years. 92. Just aged you 5 years.
Just because you and Deadman are the 87s.
Yes. This is why I never try to shout your thing out, because I can never remember the year. We had this discussion last week as well.
Well, I tried to shout you out and he kept putting Barrett 89 and was like, it's not working.
Why is this not working?
I don't know.
However,
what's happening in the news, Barrett?
We have some mini subjects. We'll start from the top to the bottom of this list, and I had to laugh when I read this first one. Pigs can play video games.
I think there is only one quote I can give to this to explain my feelings. Your scientists were so preoccupied with whether or not they could, they didn't stop to think if they should. The Jurassic Park quote, which just has to. Yeah. Why do pigs need to play? Why? Just why? Like, I'd read a little bit of this story, and the first line that just caught my attention made me go, right, was pigs play with their snouts. What? Like, what games are they playing? Why are they playing these games? Are we teaching pigs to play Mario?
The thing that gets me about this, and I think this is my big thing about this, is who is paying these fucking scientists?
Hey, scientists need to prove shit. That said, I honestly think that this is the perfect promo opportunity for the long-awaited sequel to a PlayStation 1 classic. Ladies and gents, I give you Hogs of War 2! Played by real pigs.
That would be brilliant. And by the way, did you when that game first came out, did you enjoy that game?
Hogs of War?
Yeah.
Yeah?
What
I mean,
game.
Rick Mayall had the voice of... You know you can buy it on Steam for like £2.
Can you? Is
Yes, you can. I don't know, but I know it's on Steam for £2 because I sold my... So, a lot of people look at me like I'm a weird person for doing this, right? But if I find I can buy the digital copy of the game for £2 and sell my PlayStation 1 physical original for £70, it's a no-brainer.
There's only one thing happening here.
I literally did that, and I'm waiting for the money now, and then as soon as that money rolls in, I'm just going to buy another part to this PC I'm building. So, yeah.
PlayStation 1 games have become so valuable.
They have. They have. I mean, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens to PlayStation 2 eventually, because I think the
It happens
PlayStation
to all
1 era...
consoles, doesn't it? It'll happen to PlayStation 4 in 30 years.
I do have another game that's quite rare in a way, but I can't buy I don't know if I could buy a digital version of it yet. Did you ever play Future Cops LAPD? I take that as a yes.
I cannot confirm or deny. I just orgasmed. That's the name of that game.
That game was absolutely incredible, and
I played that recently.
As a kid, I might have enjoyed the film. As an adult, I hated the film, but the game, Small Soldiers, that is also chef kisses. It was a good game.
I mean,
we complain about film games tie-ins, right? But Toy Story 2 and Small Soldiers on the PlayStation 1, they actually weren't bad games. They really weren't.
There has to be more good tie-in games.
Maybe that's another podcast.
Yeah, we will do a lot of research on this one, and we will see if we can find good tie-in games, because there has to be some. They don't not have good tie-in games, you know?
Spider-Man 2 on PlayStation 2, that was a good one.
Yeah, that was alright. That was all the Spider-Man games have been really good. All the Spider-Man games have been pretty solid.
The Spider-Man 1, the one that tied in with the first film, that one...
Was that the Spider-Man that basically decided that you couldn't touch the ground, you couldn't do this, you couldn't do that?
Oh, no, that was... so there was a Spider-Man 1 game that came out before the film on the PlayStation, and it was the one that had that whole thing about our graphics and console cannot cope with the idea of you swinging from building to floor, but if we put poisonous green gas just below building kind of rooftop level, literally that game, it was clever for its time, but going back to it now, you go, yeah, no.
They should never have made the game.
Well, they did a good job with the game, to be fair to them. And one thing that I will say, and I miss this nowadays, right? They had a whole thing about collectibles in that game. So you could put on like Spider-Man costumes, and there were different costumes. There were like the Fantastic Four costumes. There was the Incredible Bagman. Like, for fuck's sake, the most rarest costume in that goddamn game was a Spider-Man wearing a paper bag on his head. But it was the whole element of collecting stuff. It's like Time Splitters 2 also kind of had that whole... That's something I think is missing nowadays. Like, I love achievements. I love achievements.
I've just been through the new Spider-Man game. I've not just been through, but when it first came out, I went through the new Spider-Man game. And that's got the exact same thing. So you can... So you get your Fantastic Four costumes and stuff like that. So Spider-Man's kept that in.
See, I never played it.
Collectibles were painful. And you probably never will, because you won't have a PlayStation. But,
well, I mean, that's not the case. I'm not down for not getting a PlayStation, let's be honest, right? When I say I've gone for the Xbox, that's because I've gone primarily for Xbox. Doesn't mean I'm going to turn my back on PlayStation completely. But, there's probably another good conversation to have around the differences in the two ecosystems now.
I know definitely that I'm going to pick up both at some point or the other. Probably got to wait a little.
Do you know what else is missing, by the way?
What's that?
I just remembered. This is one thing that used to be in the PlayStation 1 games and PlayStation 2. do you remember there used to be like this little password thing and you put in different keywords and you'd unlock stuff?
Yes.
They need to bring those back. They were hilarious. Kids these days don't know how lucky they are. They don't have to get a piece of paper or a pencil and write on the back of their game, like, you know, the paper things in the game cases.
Yes.
All the different codes. And I now sound like I'm 50. I'm going to shut up.
Hey, see, I really like that. I really like that concept of having to do something in the real world for your computer game world. But these days, all you would do is go on Google.
True. But then again, back in the day, it wasn't that much different.
Yeah, you could just have pretty much gone to Ask Jeeves. Oof. I feel old. Wait a minute. No, there's one before Ask Jeeves. Oof.
I was 10.
Oh, MSN. I loved you. I loved you so much, MSN.
If you can't imagine it, please imagine Bareth with an emo fringe right now. And ladies and gents, this is why he brings me on here, because he has ideas for podcasts, and I just completely take him off the tracks.
To be fair, all we had written down today was mini subjects, so this is...
I feel like the podcast train you want to take us on was supposed to go from Newcastle to London, and I've just dragged you up to Edinburgh, and you're like...
This is always good, you know, because I was sat here worried about this week's podcast, because I just had, like, little pieces of news, like... I sent you to you beforehand, and I was just like, oh, that's fine. That should fill about half hour in, and we've managed to fill in quite a bit of time on D&D, which was not planned, and we also got it somehow moved from pigs playing video games to
Hogs of War to the PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2 and movie tie-in games.
Yeah, we've managed to evolve. If we was a
really
Pokemon, we would go from Squirtle to Venusaur to Charizard.
Yes, we would.
We would be the most
Speaking of which,
Pokemon ever, by the way.
I feel like you've just given us the perfect segue into the news that Pokemon are rushing out new cards.
Yeah, apparently, Pokemon cards are now getting that popular again that they're now rushing out new cards.
I wonder if it's linked to McDonald's. And, honestly, can I just say, if you're one of these people that are rushing out to McDonald's to buy up Happy Meals to take all the packs, maybe just stop and ask yourself, why? Like, seriously, the magic of that is for this. You know, I get Pokemon nowadays is aimed at an older audience. Aimed at a younger audience, but the reality is its audience is quite older. But it does still have a lot of kid fans. And I always feel like we have to be careful because we're kind of robbing kids of that experience, the magic of having those cards.
I could imagine the Pokemon guys being like, how can we help promote Pokemon to a younger audience? We'll put them in Happy Meals. Like, 40-year-old men start buying Happy Meals and they're like, oh.
I just think we've reached a point nowadays, and, you know, I'm really grateful because I know Parliament are now talking about it, but I think we now have to actively as a society put limits on things because scalping has become a little bit of a problem now, like to the point where it's affecting children's meals. Like toys that come with children's meals are now impacted by scalping. Like the Xbox and the PlayStation, I didn't like it, but I understood why people were doing it. Now we've reached this point, it's like, guys, it's aimed at kids. Can we let them have some of this?
I mean,
and to the people who are there going, oh, I'm going to buy all these meals, but I'm going to donate them to the food bank. You do realise that food banks don't accept things that are that perishable, right?
I'm going to donate them to people on the streets. Only as long as you don't get within 2 meters of them. It's a hard. Don't get me wrong. It's you could, in theory, ask all the children along your street if they want a Happy Meal, and then just take out their toy. No, do not do that, you evil human beings. You are worse than Ignis.
Yes. I just think, you know, you're gonna have to put limits on these things. Like, you can't order X number unless you can show that they're there. Like, if you're going, oh, I'm going to buy it for 30 kids. Right, great. Where are the 30 kids then? Like, it almost feels like if you do that, then you go, right, you can have the meals, but you're going to have X number of cards, because you're kind of stopping other kids from, you're stopping kids who these are aimed at from falling in love with a franchise that, for many of us, we're at the age now, and as I say this, I appreciate that Bareth is now glowering at me, but we're kind of at the age now where we're becoming parents ourselves, and like, I know a lot of people who are my age who've got kids at 4 or 5, and it's been like a magical experience to get them into the same things like Pokemon and stuff. It feels also, just to quickly go aside, it feels a bit weird. Like our parents were there going, "Here's Fireman Sam. This is what I used to watch," and now we're there going, "This is Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z. You're gonna love it, Timmy." But
I still love Thunderbirds. God damn it!
oh man, I should have known. Just honestly, Pokemon is awesome, and it's also not awesome in certain ways. But let's not rob kids of that magic. Come on, guys, let's all work together.
It does seem a bit shallow that adults are stealing from kids. Not stealing from kids. It's not stealing from kids. Obviously, it's a free market. It's not like stealing candy from a baby, because that's a bit of a different subject.
And on that note, I hope you're ready for another fantastic segue. Speaking of theft, Cyberpunk. I feel like at this moment, Barry's sat there going, "I did not mean for these segues, but
these segues are working amazingly." Cyberpunk 2077's issues continue. It feels like you can talk about Cyberpunk 2077's issues every week at this moment. You could do a weekly podcast on things that is going wrong in Cyberpunk 2077 alone.
Well, to be fair to Cyberpunk 77, I know that they're fixing things gradually, and I'm looking forward to properly giving the game a try. But I found the whole thing that the news this week that they've been hacked, had their data stolen and potentially sold. Like I'm hearing all this stuff. I'm just like, why? Like I get that the people at the top have a lot of answers. Sorry, have a lot of questions they need to answer.
Yes.
They need to answer their shareholders. They need to answer their consumers. Ultimately, they done fucked up. Let's just put our hands up and say, you should never rush out a game like that. And I almost feel like that lesson is going to be something that's going to impact the gaming and probably other industries now for the next year to 2 years. I think we're going to see a lot of things kind of pause because of the Cyberpunk effect. But like, why hack them, and why sell the data of the people who slaved their asses off for the company and got shafted by the top when things went wrong? I mean, these guys have already been hit.
I have a theory, and this is just a spitball theory, which I just came out. This is what just I thought of when I first read this.
Mm-hmm.
What's the odds it's not somebody who was developing the game who was very pissed off that it got rushed out?
It wouldn't surprise me, to be honest. Honestly.
Because they probably worked a lot on an area of game which hasn't been put out there. And they probably thought this part of the game was going to do quite well. But it got cut because they couldn't finalise it, because they rushed other parts out more. Because they made one character more important, for example.
Keanu Reeves.
That's a common fact, that they changed the game to make him more important.
Fun little side fact about that. The modding community for Cyberpunk. You can mod anything you want in the game, but you can't mod him. Like, you can't make him a dateable character. Apparently, it's in his contract, so anytime anyone tries to mod it, that mod gets taken down super quick.
Says it all about what they did to Cyberpunk, really.
It does.
Yeah,
honestly, my heart goes out to the developers who, like I say, I don't blame the developers. I think the developers worked their asses off.
They did.
And did their best. I think, ultimately, the blame has to go to the top, and it has to be, who was it who rushed it out? Why did they rush it out? And all the evidence I've seen to date suggests there was this kind of arrogance, in a way, I suppose is the best way of phrasing it. Like, the comment, we're the guys who made The Witcher 3. Like, yeah, you made an amazing game, but that game's been and done. You gotta put that behind you and move on to the next great game. I think the moment a company recognizes what it's known for and relaxes too much into it, take Bethesda.
Yes.
Bethesda, I think there has been a big problem ever since the kind of post-Skyrim era. Like, Skyrim's been its peak, and Fallout 4 was in no way, shape, or form anywhere near the quality of that.
Let's not mention Fallout. Let's not mention Fallout after New Vegas wasn't too bad. I like New Vegas.
Well, New Vegas came out before Skyrim. Yeah, and it was very good.
Yeah, that was the last Fallout I really enjoyed. I thought the multiplayer Fallout Online was absolutely atrocious.
Yes,
it was full of issues, and it wasn't good enough for being released. I think you then look at other items that they've produced, like the Elder Scrolls Online. It's one of them that could have been so good, and it's frustrating.
It is a frustrating game. I've played a fair few hours of it, and quite frankly, it has the same problem that a lot of MMOs have. After a while, it becomes the same game. Like Sea of Thieves, I love Sea of Thieves, but that's a problem that Sea of Thieves does have. That game has the same enemies, the same foes, the same islands, the same sea. Like, it takes you maybe, 2 hours real life to go from one side to the other? Which, is a big map, but it also limits what kind of happens. I always feel like they need to add new areas every year to try and keep things fresh.
Yeah, and it's going to be interesting when is it King of Seas comes out or something like that? The one-player version that made by a completely different company, which has been on hold like multiple times.
Well, there is that. There's also Skull and Bones by the guys who made Black Flag. That too should do. Honestly, I think if these great games companies to bring these games out, I think Sea of Thieves will try and up its game again. That's not to say I'm dissing it, because I do like Sea of Thieves, and it is one of those games that, when I'm feeling a bit stressed, I can just go on a sail on the sea and,
get destroyed by a skeleton ship. Woo!
Well, that's if you're that unlucky. I was just going to say you get annihilated by another human crew.
Or a kraken comes and swallows you. Unless you're trying to make YouTube footage and then never expect the kraken to appear.
I was about to say, F you. I spent days trying to catch footage of a goddamn kraken and they never showed up. But some other bloke just put a tweet out saying I've been sailing on Sea of Thieves for 5 minutes and the kraken's already appeared. And I'm just like, there going, lucky bugger.
You wanker.
Absolutely.
So yeah, there is definitely the element of I think Sea of Thieves. I think they have a new roadmap. I think they've got new plans for it because obviously they're changing like their systems of how they're running it, which I think they had to do. They definitely had to move forward and change something.
Well, the seasons approach is something that Fortnite have obviously, I wouldn't say they've invented, but they've definitely mastered. And I think seasons are the way to go forward. I know Rocket League now do seasons.
I think Fortnite's perfected it. That they've literally got to a stage where they've created what was an idea for seasons and perfected it to a certain extent now. The only thing you think of when you think of who made seasons is Fortnite.
Exactly. I mean, they didn't, but they've made it such a good thing now that, honestly, as much as I dislike Fortnite, I will put my hands up and say they've set a very good bar for what it is to have regular seasons and the need to constantly reinvigorate, reinvent, bring out brand new, amazing content.
Who made seasons?
That is the question. And that's the question for you, dear audience.
Yes, please tweet us. Please tweet us with who actually made seasons. Where did seasons come from? Which company went, we're going to do our game in seasons? Obviously, it came on an online on the online period because you wouldn't have had seasons within, like, say, Bully, for example, where you had areas of the game, but it was linear. It was you couldn't replay it. You could replay it, and the seasons would continue happening.
I would argue that generation probably was the generation. I mean, the 360 was the generation that kind of brought online gaming to like the mainstream, really. Before that, it had been a PC thing. And yes, I know there's going to be someone out there that is going to make the comment about, oh, but the Mega Drive had its own connector and the PlayStation 2, and it's like, yeah, but we're talking mainstream, like the PlayStation 2, and you had to go out and buy some not cheap gear, it has to be said, to do that. So I won't call that mainstream in the slightest.
Yeah, it has to be mainstream, and I think that when I think about it, it's hard because I think when we look back at, if we find an answer for it, it will be one of the very, very small, massively multiplayer online games that were just on the PC that did seasons.
Say hello to Warcraft.
Something like Warcraft.
Yeah.
Something along those lines, but probably a smaller version of it. Something that was smaller but very similar. I think that's where you'll find the start of seasons first occurring. And it wouldn't have been a big game, it wouldn't have been very successful, but they'd have tried doing seasons with it. And now we've got this thing where we now have multiplayer online games, some shooters, some like mainly PvP that do seasons, and they use seasons to sell. And most of these games are generally cheap or free, and then they just top their money up using seasons.
Which is fair.
And the game never stops being made because of that reason.
That said, I think there's a big difference between games that do that model compared to games where you're buying cosmetic items.
Genshin.
Exactly. So I guess the two news stories from this week that I can kind of quickly touch upon. Nintendo is outselling the other consoles.
Still outselling the other consoles as well.
Doesn't surprise me now. Honestly, the Nintendo is built with... it's got Animal Crossing, let's be honest. It's got some of the best kind of iconic games of this generation. But it also has got a lot coming out, which I think is the more surprising element, because I think a lot of consumers are going back and replaying games. I think that's why Splatoon has started to reopen its Splatfests again.
What I'd also say is obviously PS5 and the Xbox Series X and S. They obviously don't have the numbers out there to outsell Nintendo at the moment, but the fact that PlayStation are making more profit than Nintendo is a telling sign. Also that, and I think it's a sign that we're going to see PlayStation 5 outsell Xbox as well. I think we've already seen.
I think you're going to see that. The truth is that I think PlayStation's model is all in on the console. And I feel that the Xbox's model, from what I'm seeing and hearing, is that they're not building a console so much as they're building an entire ecosystem.
They're building an ideology, aren't they? Which will take time to get pushed through.
It wouldn't surprise me if we see a day where Xbox just goes, you know what, we're going to appear in your consoles.
It's funny though, because I was researching something for the race night, and do you know why I think it was Sega. Do you know why Sega stopped the Sony Sega system?
No, I know that Sony tried to do one with Nintendo, but go on.
I might have been Nintendo. Yeah,
but they both tried to be fair.
I think it might have been Nintendo, because the line the investors, the line the chairman and all the board members used is, Sony do not know how to make consoles. Oof.
Oof indeed.
Could you imagine looking back at that decision now, being like, I may have made a mistake here? It's like they could have been. The
amount of mistakes in the gaming industry, though. I mean, we all remember that Philips tried to enter.
Stadia's tried.
I'm gonna put it out. I'm gonna go out on a limb here and say that Stadia's not done yet.
It's not done.
I think that
Dying.
they have a door. There is a slim doorway, and if they can, they need to walk through it now and try and turn it around. But it's going to be harder having let go of most of their staff.
I think
Um,
it's pretty much done. I think that door's getting locked behind them as we speak.
The other news story to mention of this week, by the way, is that the Stardew split screen update to console is coming out. I did see there's been a lot of pressure from fans, right? And I just want to stand up in defense of Concerned Ape on this, right? So a lot of fans have been pressuring him to bring it out to mobile. Guys, it's one man, one single man who is doing all of this. It's not a team of developers. It's one guy. Like, let's be nice to him. He's done a lot so far this year. He's brought out this whole new update that's revolutionized the PC game. He's doing a whole new thing that's going to revolutionize the console version. Like, let's give him time to have a holiday, and then he can start a mobile game.
On top of that, how big is Stardew?
Well, that's the thing. There's a lot more to it than we know. There's like a whole island that we've never been to. There's the Witcher Swamp. Like, there are so many different elements to that game that we don't know about because we haven't gotten that far into doing different things to find them.
How?
The game on its base layer is simplistic, but that's the beauty of it. It's a simple and easy game to play.
Because
and if you keep playing it...
These people who are complaining and want this, right? They will then complain that he's simplified the game. Because you can't fit that game onto a mobile phone.
Well, that's the thing. Vice City used to be on PlayStation 2. You can now fit onto a mobile phone. Again, I go back to my Jurassic Park quotes of they questioned whether they could. They didn't stop to think if they should, but I digress.
I mean, Stardew would fit quite nicely onto a phone, and I think one thing I think that maybe Nintendo should think about is if they could produce something or another developer that's between a phone and a thing, because
no, please don't. No,
it's not currently on the market at this moment in time. They have tried it in the past.
You're referring to the N-Gage.
Yes, they have tried it in the past, but you would have to do it well.
The N-Gage looked like a Game Boy that had swallowed a phone.
Yes.
And quite frankly, the N-Gage came out at the wrong time and everything was wrong about it. Like, no. And secondly, no, Nintendo, stay away from phones. You've done enough. Now bring us a proper Mario Kart.
Yes.
God damn it.
And I'm not saying it should be Nintendo. I'm not saying I'm not like saying it should be Nintendo. What I'm basically saying
that's
is
the thing though. Sony were kind of saying that's what they're doing anyway. I mean, Xbox are doing it right now. The Game Pass. You can play your Xbox games on your phone.
And it would
your
if
phone
you've got like
becomes
quite
a
a
screen.
chunky phone, like a
Right.
the
I've got a
Note
Samsung
phone.
Galaxy Note, yeah?
Yeah, the Note phone. That would be really good. And all you'd have to do is have a Discord on that's a phone app. Which you have
I've already tried it. It's a weird experience.
But
some games though definitely work better than others.
So games like Stardew would probably work quite well. You'd have to pick and choose which games go onto it properly, but you could if you could make a gaming platform for it, it wouldn't even have to be the phone, it'd just be a gaming platform for a bigger phone. Because you couldn't really do it on my iPhone, it's a bit too small for that. I like small things.
It's interesting though, because in this sense, what's happening with this, because like if you go into Caravan Warehouse, UK brand, for example, they sell like the Xbox controller for phone with the phone connector, and then you can kind of do it that way. It's interesting in the sense that I seem to remember years ago PlayStation releasing PlayStation Now, this concept of playing things on different screens in your household. And it almost feels like that kind of went silent. And Xbox have just picked it up, and to be fair to them, you know, they've actually done something, which is quite tangible with it.
I saw a conceptual idea where you could have like your rear view mirror on your VR on your other Sony device. I thought that's a really cool idea. I don't know if it actually worked that way, but I just saw it in a picture, and I was there going, "That's a really cool idea." I didn't actually check it. But yeah,
That's one of the things I've liked, seeing how they do things. I mean, Nintendo. Sorry to diss Nintendo again. I'm going to put my hands up and say I don't dislike them. I do like them. But when they're there going, we've got a mobile phone app. It allows you to talk to your friends on some games. And it almost, like, I was looking the other day, I think they've dropped it, you know.
I think they
I
have.
actually think they have, because I'm sure they've released other games that could, and maybe the better way to say it would be should, use this functionality, but they don't.
It's a hard one, you know. It's definitely a lot harder than like picking up like little bits and pieces, because when you like look at it as an overall package, if you're playing games with friends and you're in different places, you have to be able to talk to each other.
Exactly.
Why is it not on your console to begin with? Why don't you just make a Discord app for your thing? Let people do Discord on your device while they play a game. That shouldn't be the hardest thing in the world, or something along those lines. It's not difficult, and at least so. Yeah, it's a conundrum for me. We was talking about things going to other places. Kingdom Hearts is going to the PC on the Epic Store very soon, or is there now? That's a good step for Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is an amazing game and gives hope for that one day Spider-Man might one day, likely, might make the jump across.
I wouldn't bet against it. I mean, PlayStation have put Horizon Dawn on PC. I think it's interesting to watch Sony versus Microsoft in the sense that it feels like Microsoft starts with the PC and Xbox gaming, and I'm watching PlayStation now do the same thing. I think, to be fair, I think we all admit that there is going to be only one true winner of the gaming industry, and it's PC.
That will be PC at some point.
There will always be PC. It will ultimately come down to PC v mobile gaming. And the reality is, the reason why they both win is that there are games like Bejeweled, which is just better to play on your mobile. And then there are other games that are much bigger that are better to play on your PC.
And I think this is the thing. I don't think it'll be for a while that Sony completely immerse themselves in this idea of shifting across to PC as well. Because they know, especially early generation of this console, they can't afford to do that much. Their mainstays have to make people want to buy their console who have a PC, so they also buy a PlayStation. So I understand that. So I don't think it'll be that soon, but give it 2 years when they've managed to actually roll out their console. And most people have picked up a console that they want, so Xbox or PlayStation. Most people who was going to pick one up will pick one up within the next 2 years. And then I think you'll start seeing it happen. I know this is only short term in like the proper long-term view, but I'd say about 2 years' time, you'll start seeing more of the PlayStation emigrating across, because they realise that there is money to be made on Microsoft. So I think that's really important, and I think they've realised that, so that's good. The other thing, the last point on that, is I think they'll always do timed releases. So they will have it for a year, and then it will go to the computer. I don't think they'll give way until they...
I think timed releases is the way to go for most things. I mean, I think we're going to reach the point where if you're a third-party developer and you're not owned by Sony or Microsoft, it will become a lot more appealing just to do a timed exclusive with one.
Yeah.
That said, I'm not sure whether we're going to reach that point, because the more I look at it, the more I do wonder how many more studios are these two going to hoover up. But that's another question for another time, really.
I think the EU will get involved very soon with their... Oh, and they already have with Xbox, let's be honest. They've already started to go, whoa, stop this now. We're looking into your sale of Bethesda.
Well, from what I can see, the EU look like they're going to pass it. If that happens, then
I think this is a warning shot. I think the EU looking at this one is a warning shot to be like, calm down, mate. We've had enough of this. However, we're letting this one go through. I don't see them letting many more go.
If Microsoft and I do wonder if Microsoft and Sony are going to keep hoovering up more small indie studios instead, because I just think there's a lot more potential in these studios. Not always the delivery, but the potential is...
Definitely think there is quite a bit for indie studios.
Indeed.
And not really an indie studio, but something going from game to film I wanted to mention, because this is one of my favourite game series of all times. And I really feared for this character when they said they was taking him to film. Claptrap being played by Jack Black.
Yeah, I could see the logic in that. I mean, Jack Black is... Well, it's a safe pair of hands, let's be honest.
He's a safe pair of hands. He can do the crazy. And let's be honest, Claptrap is just about the crazy. And I can't wait to see what he brings to this.
It's going to be interesting. When's the release date for that?
I don't know the release date, because they've just announced that. And I'm guessing they won't release a release date yet. But let's have a look, see if they've gave a year yet.
Well, that's probably not much good to tell us anyway, because, I mean, look at James Bond.
Let's be honest, James Bond's finished. James Bond is sat there, ready to be released. And isn't it costing them $1 million? Is it $1 million per month? To sit on it?
I mean, I do wonder about the whole cinema thing. I've already talked about it in an earlier podcast.
Yeah, we've spoken.
I like cinemas and I love the atmosphere of them, but I almost feel now that this pandemic has taught us that companies can do it in a different way. And now that they know they can do it in a cheaper way, are they going to do it this way or not? I mean, I'd be curious to hear how films like Wonder Woman, because I get the pros and cons. A cinema guarantees that a family of 4 are going to buy 4 tickets, whereas stream from home guarantees 1 pass, which is kind of why I think, was it Disney or someone had charged like 20 or 30 quid to rent a film that hadn't been released yet?
Mulan was 20. I think it was 20.
I get the logic for why they did that, because they probably went, well, you know, people who really want to watch it, they'll pay that. And families, well, they'll look at it and go, yeah, we'll pay that. And if you aren't either, you'll wait.
What they then did is we're going to make it this for a period of time, and then after that, it will go down onto the lower tier. And I think that's completely fair and valid to do. You know, you've got to make your money back on the film. If you don't make your money back on your film, you don't get a sequel. So you've got to make the money back on the film. You've got to make some money on the film. You've got to make sure it's valuable. So I understand that. You know what? I wouldn't be against film companies doing that. I know in one of our streams, I think it was Golf with Friends, that when you were streaming it, somebody was moaning about that idea where it was like, oh, but they charge extra and you already pay for the service. No, that's a surplus on the service.
Well, the service is giving you 99.9% of the content then and there. This is offering you additional quality. And it's no different to many things, really, when you think about it. I mean, Spotify is different. Spotify literally just, you're getting music at the same time as it comes out. And I think most people nowadays kind of prefer it this way.
Yeah.
I mean, some are actually quite clever, and they'll release the CD physically, and then every week release 1 track from the CD on Spotify until the whole thing comes out. But honestly, I don't see the problem in it. I can see why they're doing it, and, you know, if this is what it takes for the film industry to survive this pandemic, I'm not against it.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's definitely it's going to mean this film's community actually survives. I don't think without this the film studios survive to an extent which is capable of holding up. and we'll lose a lot of small studios unless something's done.
But I will say to cinemas, I have been watching what you're doing internationally, and I think if you all follow the model that is currently being kind of put forward by America and by Asia, you'll probably come out of this better.
Is it the pod model?
It's the model where you can actually rent a screen for gaming and for gaming tournaments and stuff.
That'd be awesome.
You see, they do it in London, in one of the screens.
Fair, when I used to work at a cinema, we used to have gaming tournaments.
It's such a great thing, and yet a lot of cinemas don't do it, or they don't promote that they do it. And it's like...
We had the ability to do it. We just did it as like a staff event.
Well, that's the thing, though. Imagine, bear in mind how much e-gaming, as much as I hate to admit that the esports scene is not really my thing, that you watch BBC Match of the Day doing an FA Cup coverage or anything like that, they're telling you that they've got League of Legends, like finals and things on. Like, it's actually starting to break into the mainstream a bit.
It's definitely a podcast I want to do something on is esports, because I want to look at like the esports numbers, facts, figures, and burn down on it, and just take a look, honestly, as a whole concept, how long it's going to be before it overtakes real sport. Because I think
it's funny you say that.
Sport.
It's funny you say that. It's not exactly confidential. I did some research for a project I tried to put forward a while ago, because I was trying to explain to a local authority, that's a council, that this is a thing that's coming. Like, in the late noughties, I encouraged them to look at apps, because apps were on their way in. They were becoming quite big. And I was explaining how apps work and the concept that, you know, with smart presentation, with easy to use accessibility in how you write the program, an app can make a service like much more smoother and more customer friendly. And I was trying to explain that esports are now becoming one of the next big things. And what's great about it is esports don't necessarily need big fancy arenas or stadia. Like, their needs are much less than, say, a football team, which needs like a 90,000 seater stadia, which goes around like a football field. The changing arena like that, it's a lot less than that.
I'd also, do you know, like theatres? Do you know where you used to go watch where people used to go watch pantomimes? Those places where you all used to sit together and yeah. I know everybody's forgot these days, okay? Nobody remembers days when you could go to the pub or go to a theatre and watch a live show like those, because the theatre scene's going to be down for a while, if you ask me. But when we start being able to get all back together again, the theatre scene will start to pick back up again. But if you've got, let's say, 3 screens where you could put on theatre things, so like big theatres, you're probably not going to have 3 shows going straight for your place. So why not offer to host like these kind of events and just like take so much of the proceeds? Because places like the Embassy in Skegness and places like that, you're going to have such a queue for people who want to go and see Jimmy Carr live or this person live. He's not going to be getting around to small theatres very soon. He's not. And so your smaller theatres have to think about how they can keep the revenue going when we first start to reopen.
Well, just to end this podcast and this topic off, I have a very good example of that, which I found quite interesting, actually, to watch as a spectator as to what they're doing. So there is a popular comedy theatre group in the UK called Mischief. Now, you'll probably have heard of them. They did The Show That Goes Wrong. They did The Bank Robbery That Goes Wrong. Peter Pan Goes Wrong, and lots of other things. They do a regular show on BBC. They started to do a live stream improv comedy show every evening, and you can buy a ticket for £10 for you and anyone else around you. It only works on one screen. And literally, they talk to their audience beforehand, just via like a live chat. They get the ideas for what people want to see or hear and do, and then they just improv it. And they do that each show every night. And I just think that is a great way forward. Like, they're doing really well. Firstly, they've been getting a big international audience that they wouldn't have had. They've been putting on shows with ideas. Like, the actors have been saying on Twitter, like, we would not have thought of any of this. Like, a musical about chuffing potholes would not have been something they would have thought of. But their audience come up with ideas and things, tie them together, and then these guys take them and just go with them. And all in all, it has been really magic to watch how they and their audience interact on social media about it, and hear that this has kept them going and kept them paying their actors and kept their actors going inside lockdown, because they're actually able to do something because they're in a bubble together and they're able to kind of put on these shows.
It is amazing. It is like one of the best things in the world, that places have evolved.
Exactly.
Very quickly, before we finish, we've just spoke about evolving, and obviously graphics cards evolve. Nvidia are releasing a new graphics card on February 25th. This does mean that some of the lower end graphics cards may end up becoming more available. So if you are building a PC right now, and I know there's been a shortage of graphics cards, they may be becoming more available soon. As the higher tier go up, more people want to get rid of what they've got below them. So, and then the stock of the lower stuff obviously slows down in sales. So it may be a little bit easier for a time to actually upgrade PCs.
That is good. This makes me happy. Although I know that there's going to be a huge problem, because I know that a lot of computer chips used in cars and other things are actually massively decreased because of this. But we'll see a boost in stock soon.
Yeah.
Am I okay to quickly go back to the early conversation, just because, I don't want to promote things out of hand, but these guys that are doing something a bit innovative, I feel like we need to do something nice, because anyone who does anything this amazing deserves a shout out. Mischief Theatre have got shows on Saturday today, Sunday tomorrow, Thursday the 18th, Friday the 19th, Saturday the 20th, and Sunday 21st of February on at 7:30 p.m. each of those nights, and the cost is £10.
Hashtag we're not sponsored.
We're not sponsored at all. And apparently Sunday is Valentine's Day rom-com. So.
Hashtag we're not sponsored, and hashtag this goes out on Sunday. So tonight's would be Halloween one. Not Halloween. Oh, it may as well be fucking Halloween.
No, so Saturday the 13th is a normal. Sunday the 14th tonight is Valentine's Day one. Thursday the 18th, Friday the 19th, Saturday the 20th, and Sunday the 21st are all normals. And they have already done 6 shows in December, 9 in January. They've done 10 in... They're going to be doing 10 in this month. And they're talking about doing even more. But they're also going to be filming the brand new TV series for the BBC soon. So...
Sorry. I think
I will say, for anyone who is against the BBC, like somebody else on this podcast, they do tend to take the absolute piss out of the BBC during that show, so it's well worth a watch.
Yeah, if it's on YouTube, I'll watch it. I'm not allowed to watch the BBC because you have to pay for that stuff.
You can watch it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, good. I'll watch it on Amazon Prime. I'm not against the BBC. I just think most of the stuff that they make is absolutely trash. These things happen. Anyway, on that note of trashing the that company that shall not be named ever again in my life, I want to bid you all a fond farewell. And as we leave you, remember to take note of the phone numbers that you see at the end. And from myself and from Bear, who this has overrun by quite some time, we'll see you all very, very much later.
Hey guys, Roving Bear here. If you've enjoyed our pod chats and you've enjoyed other great content, you can find more from me at twitch.tv/The Roving Bear. Stay safe. I love you all.
You have been listening to a Sanctuary podcast. I have been your host, Barrett87, and there's a few things I'd like to just add. Please remember these important phone numbers. The Samaritan UK is 116123. That's 116123. Shout UK, this is a text line. It's 85258. That's 85258. And Crisis Line USA is 1-800-273-8255. That is 1-800-273-8255. Please go and check out your local phone numbers for organisations like this and pass these numbers on to your friends and family. Keep them in your phone for when you need them and make sure you are using these very important resources. From myself, Barrett87, I want to wish you a fantastic evening, day or morning. You can find me at www.twitch.tv/Barrett87. And again, peace out and stay well.
Beep, beep. You've been listening to a Sanctuary broadcast. We will now resume regular programming.